While many people associate OCD with simple hand washing or door checking, the reality of this condition can be far more complex and, in some cases, utterly bizarre. Here are some of the most fascinating cases throughout history. Nikola Tesla's OCD went far beyond his obsession with the number 3. He couldn't bear to touch anything round, hated human hair, and was so disturbed by jewelry that he nearly fired his secretary over her pearl earrings. At hotels, he demanded exactly 18 clean towels delivered at precise times, and if a fly landed on his table while dining, he would require the entire meal to be remade. Marcel Proust, the celebrated French author, lived the last years of his life in a cork-lined room to avoid germs and noise. He would wear multiple overcoats and wrap his throat in layers of scarves even in summer. His elaborate bedtime ritual included sealing all windows, dusting his room with powdered fumigant, and placing wet paper in gaps between doors and walls, a process that could take hours. Hans Christian Andersen, the fairy tale author, carried a rope with him everywhere he traveled, fearing hotel fires. He would place the rope by his bed each night, though he never actually needed it. He also refused to mail letters without having someone else check them multiple times, fearing he had accidentally written something offensive. Joey Ramone, the punk rock icon, struggled with severe OCD that manifested in unexpected ways. He would spend hours organizing his comic book collection, needed to touch every pole he passed while walking in New York City, and had specific rituals about how his leather jacket had to be worn. Before performances, he required certain items to be arranged in precise patterns backstage. Dr. Samuel Johnson, creator of the first comprehensive English dictionary, had complex ritualistic behaviors that he believed necessary to maintain his sanity. He would carefully measure his footsteps to avoid cracks in the pavement, spin around in circles before entering buildings, and would touch every lamppost he passed while walking London's streets. If he missed one, he would go back to touch it, even if it meant retracing considerable distance. Howard Stern, the radio personality, has spoken openly about his touching rituals that once consumed hours of his day. He would need to touch certain objects a specific number of times, tap radio dials in precise patterns, and flip light switches according to elaborate rules he created for himself. Stanley Kubrick, the legendary film director, transformed his OCD into a perfectionism that defined his filmmaking style. His fear of flying led him to travel by ship when he moved to England, and once there, he would only travel by car, having his drivers follow precisely calculated routes at specific speeds. On film sets, his perfectionism was legendary. He once made Tom Cruise walk through a door 95 times for a single scene in Eyes Wide Shut, and he would send hundreds of notes to promotional departments about the exact spacing of text on movie posters. For The Shining, he demanded so many takes of certain scenes that Shelley Duvall's hair began falling out from stress. His attention to detail was so intense that he would personally check every print of his films sent to theaters, ensuring they were packed according to his precise specifications. John Bunyan, author of The Pilgrim's Progress, experienced intrusive thoughts so severe he would hear voices telling him to sell Christ for a bowl of soup. These thoughts tormented him for years and became a central theme in his writing about spiritual warfare. He would spend hours repeating prayers in exact sequences, believing any mistake would doom his soul. Martin Luther, the Protestant reformer, suffered from scrupulosity, a religious form of OCD. He would spend up to 6 hours in confession, obsessing over minor sins. His confessor once told him to go commit a real sin because his confessions were becoming absurd in their detail. This religious anxiety partly fueled his revolutionary ideas about faith and salvation. Charles Darwin actually developed rituals around his daily walks, counting his steps and touching specific stones along his thinking path. If he missed a stone or lost count, he would start the entire walk over. He kept detailed logs of his digestive issues, which many now believe were manifestations of his anxiety and OCD. These cases remind us that OCD manifests differently in different people, often latching onto whatever the person values most, whether that's cleanliness, religion, creativity, or intellectual pursuit. While many of these individuals found ways to channel their obsessive tendencies into productive work, their stories also highlight the profound impact OCD can have on daily life. Most importantly, they show us that even with severe OCD, people can achieve remarkable things. Today, With proper treatment and understanding, those with OCD have more support and options than ever before, though the condition remains a significant challenge for millions worldwide.